a mix between an axe and a spear. In Elden Ring, only the most dedicated and skillful tarnished will be able to master them. But do you think you have what it takes to main a halberd? Are you worthy of joining the mighty warriors wielding it, like Loretta, Knight of the Haligtree, the mighty tree sentinels, or even the giga Commander Niall? We have a total of 16 different halberds in Elden Ring, with each and every one of them being unique. Hence, I thought it would be a great idea to rank every single one of them for you guys. So, who do you think is going to be crowned as the best halberd in Elden Ring? Let's find out.
Champions! Welcome! The stars have aligned! The festival is nigh! General Radahn, mightiest demigod of the Shattering, awaits you! Champions, prepare for battle! Defeat the general, claim glory, and grab that great rune! Of war! The Radahn Festival!
But before we get started, there are a couple of things that you guys must know about halberd. Halberds are divided into 3 categories of moveset: the regular moveset shared by most halberds, the sexy moveset shared by the Loretta War Sickle and the Guardian Swordspear, which has a slower first light attack, but every subsequent light attack are faster. It is a great moveset to surprise your opponent. Very often they are getting caught off guard by how fast the subsequent attacks are coming out. Furthermore, under the right latency, you have access to a true combo, the jumping heavy R2 onto the R1. It is beautiful and of course very sexy. And finally, we have the thrusting moveset shared by the Halberd, the Banished Knight Halberd, the Dragon Halberd, and finally the Commander Standard, whose R1s are actually faster than any other type of moveset, sitting at 17 frame of startup frame. This moveset is one that many tournament players are using, reason being that this moveset is a poke, and I am going to use the same comparison as I have been using with boxing. The thrust or the poke can be compared to a jab in boxing. A jab is a fast punch that has a very few elements of body language to predict its initiation. And this is why the thrusts are so good in Elden Ring, because they are very hard to predict compared to an horizontal or vertical swing. Hence, a great way to play halberd is to pair them with an offhand weapon like a dagger, a fist, a thrusting sword. This way, you will always keep your opponent guessing and mess up their brain. And lastly, same as for the sexy moveset, you have access to a true combo, the jumping R2 into R1. Thank you to Waziz for showing me this. At the end of the day, the bread and butter of the halberds is going to be your thrusting attack, like the running R1 on all halberd or the neutral R1 on thrusting halberds. Hence, why the spear talisman, which is giving you a 15 bonus damage to your counter thrusting attack, is going to be a must-have on halberds. I also have to give a special shout out to my friend Miasma that have helped me understanding the halberd since he was maining it for quite some time as a tournament player. Without out of the way, let's get into the tier list, starting things off with the Gargoyle Halberd. The Gargoyle Halberd is one of the best options if you look for the highest damage on a pure strength build. However, it is the shortest halberd in the whole game. Range is very important. Why? Because the more range you have, the safest you will be at attacking your opponent without getting hit. And honestly, the Gargoyle Halberd just isn't enough, and you end up training with your opponent or whiffing, when if you would have a longer halberd, you will just be outspacing them and not get hit. We are starting things off by putting the Gargoyle Halberd into the D tier. On to the next one, its twin sister, the Gargoyle Black Halberd. Wielded by the Black Blade Kindred, I personally have been traumatized by the one outside Gureng's monastery, and I am sure I'm not the only one. Let me know in the comment section below if it is also the case for you guys. So of course, when you finally beat him after many hours of dying, you expect to have a monster of a weapon in your hand when you will be wielding it. And oh my god, they have really messed this one up. The Gargoyle Black Halberd has really nothing going for it. They could have give it a special Ash of War, you know, with Destined Death imbued into it with like red flame and shit or something. But no, They just gave it the regular boring spinning slash. What a waste. Besides that, the weapon requires 22 points of faith in order to be wielded, but the damage will mostly come out of your strength investment. The only silver lining about this weapon is that it hits really hard. Besides that, it's pretty much dog shit. Where do we rank it? Yep, you guessed it, it goes straight into the super toilet. Don't use that thing. However, the next weapon is also related to Malekith, but this is actually a much better option. The Vulgar Militia Saw, wielded by the nasty little Vulgar Militia under the control of Malekith. Watch out for these guys, they might be small, but they will tear you a third apple. Yes, a third one. The Vulgar Militia Saw has a passive bleed buildup and is the only halberd with a passive status effect. It is the weapon that scales the best out of all the halberd on Occult Infusion, and on high arcane build, the Occult Infusion gets you also a boost to your bleed buildup, making it the perfect arcane status effect halberd. One of my favorite way to play this weapon was with the Ash of War Poison Mist. This was nasty guys. TLDR, you meet the minimum requirement to wield it, you infuse all of the rest of your point into Arcane, you infuse the Militia Saw into the Poison Mist Ash of War, and you choose Occult for the infusion. You equip the Kindred of Rot and the Lords of Blood Exaltation, and then you just win all of your fights. Simple, efficient, you love to see it, I love to see it, everyone loves to see it. This weapon is great, it goes straight into the A tier. GG. I would have put it into the S tier honestly, but this weapon suffers from a very small range and not having access to the thrusting moveset. Onto its little sister, the Vulgar Militia Shotel. A weapon also wielded by the kinky Vulgar Militia. The main specialty of this weapon is that it has a 40% shield piercing potential. Similarly to Reapers, when you hit someone that is blocking, about 40% of the damage won't be blocked by the shield. So you might want to play this one with an elemental infusion since you will be doing extra damage through shield. Other than that, unfortunately, the Vulgar Militia Shotel doesn't have much to offer. I actually would rather go on a date with her toxic sister. We've finally decided to rank it into the D tier. Onto another disappointment, the Dragon Halberd. Weapon crafted by the Nox during their failed attempt at making a true dragon. They also, in the process, failed miserably at making this weapon good. The question lingers, are the Nox good at anything at all? Although it can be called a twin destroyer since it hits so hard at lower level. The truth is that the higher you go, the less relevant this weapon becomes, being outshined by most other halberds. But actually, after further investigation and watching the god player Wazius, I've realized that this weapon actually have access to true combo because it belongs to the thrusting moveset family of halberd. The combo is jumping R2 into R1. If you follow up then with the signature move, the lightning spinning slash Ash of War, you can roll catch your opponent in an infernal vortex of pain and suffering. However, its short range is really not doing this weapon any favor. A weapon that looks amazing, hits like a truck with true combos, but with the tiny range. After thorough investigation, we finally decided to rank it into the C tier. Unless of course, you are a filthy twink with no honor and no balls. Then of course, it is a super S tier weapon. On to the next one, the Lucerne. Found in Eastern Liurna, the Lucerne is a halberd that does best on a dexterity build, although you will get more error if you are two-handing your weapon on a strength build. It is a short halberd, being just a tad longer than the Dragon Halberd. Nothing too special can be said about the Lucerne, a very basic halberd with the basic moveset. Don't use it, put it into the toilet, and don't forget to flush. Now, how about the Pest Glaive? But what is special about the Pest Glaive, you're going to ask? Well, pretty much nothing. Nah, I'm joking, there is like one special tiny thing. There is something that must be special about it, right? Since it's the weapon wielded by the enigmatic figure, the Pest of Rot. But who are the Pest? Were they human before? a lot of mysteries are surrounding those creatures. The only special thing about the Pest Glaive is that it gives you a bonus defense of 2% against non-physical attacks. So you have basically a 2% defense bonus if someone is spamming Star Shower at you. Is that going to save you and make you an unstoppable god with a huge dick? Nope, it won't. You're still gonna get your cheeks clapped because you wanted to be a cool and an original hipster by wielding that thing. Low damage, low range, ugly. Do you guys see anywhere else to put that thing than in the toilet? I mean, it is a weapon wielded by the king of decomposed organic matter after all. We gotta give back to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. I know you are tired of the toilet, me too, trust me. Although, I'm not gonna lie, I'm having a lot of fun writing the script, but worry not, my friend, because our next contender is truly a wonderful piece of art that only the most skillful player will be able to master. Wielded by the Guardian of Minor Earthtree sprouting around the lands between. These Guardians are very proficient fighters and have sworn to give their life to defend the leftover of the Earthtree in a futile attempt of prolonging the decaying age of the Golden Order. Some of them have fused with the tree and are partly transforming into tree-like creatures. The Swordspear is also a reminiscent of the mighty Dragon Slayer Swordspear wielded by the ultimate Dark Souls 3 Giga Chad, the Nameless King. The Swordspear is an incredible weapon. It has the sexy moveset for unpredictable attacks, a good range, an absurd AR on full dexterity build whether infuse it with keen or lightning, hence making it the weapon of choice to pair it with an offhand thrusting weapon, fist or dagger. It looks great, you can put any Ash of War on it, Frozen Mist, Beast Roll, Phantom Slash or Storm Stomp to name a few. Honestly, the only bad side of this weapon is its range, which is not the longest ever, but it will be more than enough to get the job done. I see no other choice than to put this weapon into the S tier, our first S tier weapon in this list. Congratulations, but the question is, are we going to have other S tier champions? Well, just wait until you see our next halberd, and a very popular one, the Banished Knight Halberd. Wielded by the Banished Knight, this weapon can be acquired early on by farming them in Stormvale Castle or by fighting Edgar once he has gone feral. The Banished Knight Halberd is one of the best halberd in the game, if not the best, honestly, because it keeps a strong damage output no matter the infusion, it has a good range, it has access to the poking moveset, which is why you see many good players using it. Because with an offhand thrusting sword, you can mix up your attack between the poke of the halberd and the poke of the thrusting sword. Hence, your opponent is constantly on the lookout for any of this attack, and if he rolls too early, he gets caught by the halberd, and if he rolls too late, he gets clipped by the thrusting sword. Fighting a good player using this setup is a nightmare. You start making knots in your head, your brain cannot function properly, and you end up crying. You then proceed onto looking for the profile of your opponent to insult the shit out of them because they have a terrible internet connection. But the reality is that you are too much of a pussy to face the fact that you actually suck at the game. But wait, maybe that's just me. Another secret tactic told by Miasma was by playing it on cold infused weapon. Try it and let me know how you like it. This is why the Banished Knight Halberd is our second S tier weapon. GG. Usually in this playlist we have only 2 S tier weapon max, but something is telling me that maybe a third one can join these two at the top. Can you guys guess which ones? What is certain is that it won't unfortunately be our newcomer, the Halberd. But don't get me wrong, the Halberd is a good weapon. Yep, the Halberd is called the Halberd and it is a Halberd, which is not making things complicated at all when talking about it. It is the starting weapon of the best class in the game, the Vagabond. But if you have made some bad life decision, and you choose another starting class, well, don't worry, you can still get this weapon by buying it at the Nomadic Merchant in North Limgrave. The Halberd is a good weapon, plain and simple, nothing more, nothing less. It has access to the thrusting moveset, it has a good range and a good damage output. The only thing that this weapon is doing worse than the Banished Knight is in the range department, being shorter than the Banished Knight. It goes into the A tier. Any objection? No. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the Asmongold weapon, the Golden Halberd.
This Halabardo is becoming the Omega Halabardo.
The Golden Halberd, wielded by the Sentinel tree, powerful and single-minded cavalry knight dressed of gold. This halberd is probably going to give some post-traumatic stress disorder when seeing it, because we all got gang-banged by these knights on our first playthrough. We opened the door, arrived at the first step, and thought we were some hot shit, thinking we were gonna take on the Earth Tree Sentinel head-on and grab his weapon from his dead corpse. Well, it didn't go as planned at all, but that's okay. Jesus still loves us. I hope. This weapon also got popularized because it was the weapon of choice wielded by the famous and super sexy streamer Asmongold. He also had a funny way of saying it. He was saying like Alabardo or something like that.
This Halabardo is becoming the Omega Halabardo. 2 Halabardo. The Halabardo. This Halabardo, double Halabardo. Dubby Halabardo.
Which is, I think, is the German way of saying it. With the very accurate lore out of the way, let's talk about this weapon. Is it good or is it toilet material? Well, this weapon is very good. Requiring 30 strength, 14 dexterity and 12 faith in order to be wielded. Once fully upgraded, it has a scaling of B in strength, D in dexterity and D in faith. It has a great range, a very good damage output, is using the basic moveset, and has a locked Ash of War Golden Vow, which is unfortunately not giving you the same boost as the incantation version. Basically, there are two versions of Golden Vow. There is the incantation, which is requiring a lot more faith, and you have the Ash of War that you can put on any weapon. The incantation version gives you a 7.5 damage boost and a 5% damage negation, whereas the Ash of War version gives you a 2.5 damage boost and a 1.5 negation boost, which is quite a joke, honestly. Hence, why this weapon cannot go into the higher tier. It will just stay into the B tier. We could make an argument for A. I would have put it into A, but I think the Ash of War is way too much of a waste to be forgiven. But what do you guys think? On to another disappointment, the Glaive. The Glaive doesn't really specialize in anything. It has an okay range, good damage no matter what infusion you choose, and uses the basic moveset. But this is where the review on this weapon stops. Really, nothing special about it. Worth the D tier, nothing more and nothing less. However, you guys are not ready at all for what is coming next. The Nightrider Glaive is more certainly one of the sexiest weapons in the game, wielded by the hand of the fell omen, the Nightrider Cavalry, hunting at night for the tarnished with the objective of extinguishing their flame of ambition. Fun fact, the Knight's Cavalry chest piece is actually my main armor for fashion, and honestly, I don't see anything topping that in terms of fashion. What do you guys think? What are your favorite pieces of armor to wear in fashion? Should I make a fashion tier list? Like, I'm very curious. The Nightrider Glaive is a fantastic weapon for strength build with a huge damage output. Pair this weapon with Flaming Strike and oh boy, your opponent would wish they were not born at all. Another really strong way to play this weapon, popularized by the famous and sexy Giga's Thickest, is by using the Warcry or Braggart's Roar Ash of War on a pure strength build. What is happening is that after using Warcry or Braggart's Roar, your R2 becomes thrusting forward atomic attack with a stupid amount of hyper armor. I mean, you can take some ridiculous attack like jumping colossal weapon, but it doesn't stop here. You pair that with the offhand Highland Axe, which is buffing your roar type of attack, and your R2s are becoming roar type of attack. Furthermore, you had on top of that the Roar Medallion, the Axe Talisman, and the Spear Talisman, and oh my god, you one-shot or two-shot people left and right. Although going for the fully charged R2 is kind of a meme and most good player won't get caught by it, if you just have the spear talisman, you will on people, like you will do so much damage. This build was too much fun. It's one of my favorite builds actually. With that being said, the Nightrider scales better off on a strength build, has a long range, looks fantastic, has a cool lore, but is using the basic Halberd moveset. And this is where I'm struggling internally because I wish I could put this weapon into the S tier, but the basic moveset is really a detriment to this weapon viability. I mean, if Luber, a tournament champion, has chosen to use the Banished Knight Halberd over this for winning a tournament, it is for a good reason. Hence, after debating with myself, we have decided to rank it into the A tier. You can disagree in the comment section below and insult me for being a scrub. That's okay, I understand. I still love you though. Okay guys, 3 more Halberds to go. Can any of them join the Banished Knight and the Swordspear into the S tier? Well, let's find out right now with this monstrosity of a weapon.
Somebody, help me. Unshackle me, please. Anybody. I've had enough of this dream. The night blocks all sight. Oh, somebody, please.
The Ripple Crescent Halberd, a calamity sent from heaven to punish us for our sins. Miyazaki has been judging us from the top of FromSoftware headquarters for the past 14 years and has finally judged us unworthy of having fun. Wielded by the 2nd generation Albinoric, being created by humans, the Albinoric have suffered from discrimination since forever in the lands between, being slaughtered, tortured, or used as slaves. They now are looking for a safe haven, far from persecution. Some have joined Mog in the coming of his dynasty, whereas some are fleeing in a distant land across the consecrated snowfield. Some Albinorics are wielding this weirdly shaped halberd that is a very unique weapon, because although it deals only physical damage, it scales up with arcane, so the more arcane you have, the more damage this weapon does. Hence, it has a great synergy with greases and drawstrings because the status effect based consumable like drawstring rod grease or drawstring slip grease scales with arcane. Hence, the more arcane you have, the higher the status buildup will be, making the Ripple Crescent Halberd the best weapon to inflict status effect. Many players using that thing are using it with sleep grease on it, and as we know, sleep is the best status effect to apply to an opponent, because once they are asleep, they are at your mercy for about 1.5 seconds. Furthermore, status effects are applied through ghost hits, meaning that depending on the latency with your opponent, even when they dodge your hit, the sleep status will still go through. Hence, at some point, you will proc the status even if they dodge everything perfectly. Can you see now why this weapon is so good? I mean, I still don't really know what to say between this is a great weapon and this weapon is utterly broken. It should not exist, and anyone using it should be ran over by the Cybertruck and die in a long and painful death. Objectively, this weapon goes straight into the S tier, and I am wishing you to never run into it. 2 more halberds to go. The next one is a huge disappointment to me. Here comes Loretta Sickle. So why am I saying that this weapon is a disappointment? Well, it's simple. The weapon is wielded by the magnificent and powerful knightess Loretta. When Loretta is wielding this weapon, I am asking you, what is she doing that is kind of strange for a weapon? Can anyone guess? She is casting spells with a weapon. She is casting Loretta's Great Bow, Star Shower, Glintblade Phalanx, and Glintstone Pebble. But can you do any of that when you are wielding the weapon? Hell no! The Loretta's Sickle is just a standard halberd. It is very long, it's pretty hard, has the sexy moveset, but is stuck with a non-unique Ash of War Loretta Slash that looks really cool, sometimes combo, sometimes doesn't. Basically, you need to hit people with the late portion of the first attack for it to combo, and is also an Ash of War that can be used on any pole arm type of weapon. Such a disappointment. It could have been so cool to be able to use spells while two-handing this weapon, even if it was just one of the moves of Loretta. Like, I don't understand why FromSoftware isn't giving us more super cool and special weapon, and it is not as if they cannot do it. They have done it with weapons like Bloodhound Fang, Royal Greatsword, although this is Greatsword, Hand of Millennia. Like, it is possible for them to create unique and super cool weapon, so why not doing it for Loretta? I understand not putting too much work for a quote-unquote normal weapon, but when it comes to a boss weapon, they could make an effort. It is also really not that hard to do for a AAA studio with millions of dollars, because some modders by themselves for free are creating everyday super cool weapons. I am sorry for ranting, I'm not really sorry, but yeah, I'm very disappointed with this weird decision made by FromSoftware. Where do we rank it? Well, in B tier. At the end of the day, it is still a good weapon nonetheless. But are you guys ready for our final entry in the Halberd tier list? I don't think you guys are. Please welcome the mighty Commander's Standard. Wielded by the Giga commander who served Millennia during the great and tragic Battle of Aeonia. While Millennia fled the battlefield half dead with her sim faithful Cleanrot knight Finley, the commander O'Neill stood his ground and is still fighting to this day. But against who? Well, probably no one. I think just like Rodan, he went completely crazy after Millennia's nuclear rod explosion. But this weapon, give it to me, baby. It is the longest halberd in the game, has the thrusting moveset, so it's the perfect weapon for having an offhand weapon like a fist dagger or thrusting sword. Its unique Ash of War rallying standard is great for PvE, but unfortunately for PvP, the buff only gives you a 2.5% damage increase and a 5% damage negation. This is kind of a joke for how long the buff takes to be casted. If you try to buff against a tryhard, you will just get Golden Great Arrow to the face. Hello G9. Nonetheless, this weapon is top tier for sure. It goes straight into the S tier. I mean, our fourth S tier weapon. Although we could argue that the Ash of War is not too great, the gigantic range is good enough to make it an S tier. And we are getting at the end of this video. This is our final ranking. Bear in mind, I am not God, I am just a dude. This is my personal opinion. You can have a different opinion. And thank you guys so much for watching the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and also comment your thought on Halberd and on the ranking. Did I mess anything up? Is something too high that should be lower, or vice versa? Let me also remind you that I am the only YouTuber that answers to every comment. Yes, it is true. You can try to leave a comment and I will answer you. Thank you guys so much for watching. It was Valentin. I love you guys. I see you in the next video. And by the way, the next tier list will be about curved sword. Thank you guys.